Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is 6path Weeb, your go-to hub for epic anime crossovers and fanfic adventures. Today, we're diving into part 3 of our ongoing saga, Naruko X Sword of Mana where worlds collide, and legends are reborn. Disclaimer. This content is purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any of the anime or game footage featured, full credit goes to their original creators and rights holders. Alright, let's jump in and see where the story takes us next. This is what I've been told, just a small part of 2 other stories that gently intertwine with my own. The night I was out answering Undine's call, 2 of my companions experienced dreams of their own. According to them, it was surreal. Both described the same dream, where the world around them became a sea of swirling, radiant color. Friends and allies of the Mana Chosen, hear me and heed my words. A soft, graceful voice, filled with ancient wisdom, echoed across the land. The time draws near when events will shape the future of this world. When uncertainty clouds everything, watch for my messenger. She will know you. She will lead you to me, and I shall grant you the strength to become pillars of support for the Chosen. Speak of this to no one, the Chosen must not yet be aware of me. The voice faded, as did the sea of colors, and the warmth of sunrise stirred everyone from their slumber. Tsunami had risen early, combing the market for ingredients to prepare a decent breakfast, despite Gato's blockade limiting supplies. Though her home was crowded with Konoha shinobi, she welcomed their presence with grace. After breakfast, Sasuke resumed his training with Hinata and Ino, while Sakura joined Shikamaru and Naruko's clone at the bridge. Along the way, the real Naruko caught her clone's attention and discreetly switched places. That day passed quietly, with Naruko creating several clones to help Tazuna, who was steadily losing workers due to Gato's pressure. Naruko herself worked alongside Tazuna, exchanging friendly conversation. That same day, Sasuke finally took the advice of his teammates and managed to climb the training tree, though he couldn't resist a boast or two. Hinata and Ino, relieved for the break, focused instead on sparring and brainstorming new jutsu. As night fell, everyone found their own way to prepare for the upcoming encounter with Zabuza and his ally. Naruko retrieved her sharpening tools from a storage scroll and carefully tended to the team's weapons with a serene focus. Inari sat beside her, watching attentively as he practiced on his mother's kitchen knives, learning through observation and touch. Ino and Hinata sat with Shikamaru, catching up on life, while Sakura tried to join the conversation with limited success. Sasuke remained quiet, glancing occasionally in Naruko's direction. Kakashi and Asuma were deep in conversation, sharing memories from past missions with quiet chuckles. Meanwhile, Naruko was in a meditative state, her hands moving automatically while her mind was elsewhere. Within her mindscape, she was conversing with the spirits residing inside her. Though she maintained a calm demeanor, the others seemed uneasy. Undine was gently scolding Jin again for his impulsiveness, while he silently endured it. If letting her vent eased her nerves, he was content. Yuko and Naruko were speaking privately. It was fortunate that Undine intervened when she did. Yuko said, "I'm not sure I could have brought your body this far alone. But you're not back to full strength yet. If you attempt higher level jutsu, you risk straining your chakra pathways. Thankfully, others still believe you rely mostly on taijutsu and kenjutsu. As for Jin's power, just channel it through Tsukihitsum, and you should be fine. Undine isn't ready to lend her strength yet, but she's helping me with your healing." Naruko flexed her silver-coated hand thoughtfully. "You know I don't get too caught up in the details, Yuko. As long as I'm well enough to do what's needed, I'll manage. And if I have to push myself for the sake of others, so be it. That's just who I am." Her sapphire eyes sparkled with quiet confidence. "Don't tell me you're losing faith in me?" Yuko smiled gently. "Of course not, Naruko. I know exactly what you're capable of." Naruko gave her a light grin. "Good. I need you at my side now more than ever. Let's not worry too much. I'm almost certain I'll be seeing Zabuza again tomorrow, but we'll handle it. What matters now is choosing the right path. Here's my plan." Naruko returned from her mental space just as she finished sharpening the final blade. Everyone else had already gone to bed. Taking the chance, she created 3 shadow clones. "Alright, here are your orders. Patrol the forest through the night into the morning. I wouldn't put it past Gato to send people our way. Dispel if you notice anything strange." The clones nodded in unison and set off. Naruko leaned her sword against her shoulder and slipped into a light rest. She was woken not long after by the distinct sensation of one of her clones vanishing. As expected. Still a bit of time left. Footsteps approached, and Shikamaru emerged, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Cage, good, you're up. Listen closely." The nickname caught Shikamaru's attention. Naruko rarely used the codename she'd come up with for her friends. What is it? You have a plan? Naruko used her sword for balance as she stood. Something like that. I wasn't planning to share just yet, but things changed. I'm hoping to form an alliance with Zabuza and his companion. They're no longer loyal to Kumo, and they could be valuable to Konoha. She waited for Shikamaru's nod. Problem is, something's happening here that needs attention. Asuma or Kakashi would usually handle this, but they're needed at the bridge. Gato has mercenaries heading to Tazuna's home. I know their location and I'm going to intercept them before they cause trouble. I need you to distract from my absence. At the bridge, you, Haim, and Tenchi need to stall until I arrive. She strapped her sword to her side and paused at the door, glancing over her shoulder. Watch over everyone while I'm gone, alright? That includes Sasuke and Sakura. Shikamaru gave a relaxed wave. Yeah. I've got this. Being careful is easier than cleaning up a mess anyway. And those nicknames of yours still sound a bit silly. Naruko grinned. They fit. I'll come up with better ones when they start acting their age. With that, she disappeared into the trees, leaving Shikamaru chuckling to himself. Duck ass. Soon after, Hinata and Ino came downstairs to gather their polished weapons. Hey, Shika, where's Naruko? Ino asked, tying her hair into a ponytail. She's usually helping Tsunami by now. Shikamaru stretched. She left early. Said she had something important to take care of. Left the bridge duty to us. Hinata gave him a mild look. You know how Naruko is. She'd rather make friends and find a peaceful solution whenever possible. She was always the one holding back in training just to avoid hurting others. A new voice joined them. Did I hear someone talking about me? Sasuke yawned, entering the room. Hinata, you could have just asked if you wanted to know more about me. Ino raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. Everyone already knows everything about you, Sasuke. You talk about yourself enough. Sasuke scowled slightly at her reply but dropped the subject. So where's Naruko? Don't tell me she's backing out now? Hinata sighed softly. She's doing what she thinks is best and will meet us at the bridge. Not long after, Kakashi and Asuma gathered the team, understanding from experience that Naruko had her own path to walk and likely a plan in motion. Sakura followed, her mind elsewhere as usual. Meanwhile, Naruko moved swiftly through the treetops, grateful she had sent out 3 clones instead of just 1. As the last clone dispersed, she spotted the small group of hired fighters clearing the path aggressively. She formed several hand signs and tapped her throat, activating a personal jutsu that altered her voice. Impatient, aren't we? Her voice boomed through the trees, calm yet commanding. Swinging your blades at trees when there are ninja ahead. Did your leader forget to mention you were being sent to your defeat? The group of mercenaries froze, scanning the trees nervously. Naruko smiled from the shadows. She had their attention now. Bah! Ninja hide in the shadows. Why should I be afraid of someone who won't face me openly? The man scoffed, rallying his companions behind him. Encouraged by his words, they began shouting for the source of the voice to reveal itself. With a light chuckle, Naruko dropped gracefully from a tree branch into the center of the group. Her voice was calm but confident. Very well. But remember, this choice is yours. She pulled her blade from her belt, still sheathed, and held it at the ready in a poised stance. Who wishes to challenge me first? The same man stepped forward, smirking as he approached. So, you do have some courage after all. But you're still just a kid. This will be easy. Naruko's expression remained composed as she took a quiet breath, her stance unshaken. Swift wind form, she whispered. In a single fluid motion, she unsheathed her blade, moved with incredible speed, and resheathed it just as quickly. The man's overconfidence quickly faded as he gently collapsed to the ground, dazed and unable to continue. Turning her attention to the rest of the group, Naruko's tone was even and clear. If anyone else feels bold, step forward. But if you value your time, I suggest you leave. Most of the group ran off, but 3 remained, driven by pride or ambition. Naruko clasped her hands together and created 5 shadow clones. Wind arc formation. They called in unison. Together, they formed a wave of wind chakra that gently knocked the opponents off their feet, safely ending the confrontation. The clones disappeared, and Naruko, breathing steadily, moved in the direction of the bridge. Meanwhile, Sasuke was deep in combat with a masked opponent. Though he had been holding his own, his adversary created a dome of reflective ice mirrors that surrounded him. He hadn't encountered such a technique before. Kakashi explained it was likely a special ability tied to her lineage, much like the Sharingan. Shikamaru led Hinata and Ino in a coordinated defense, keeping Zabuza too busy to assist his ally. Sasuke managed to catch a glimpse of the opponent's movement and landed a minor strike, giving him a temporary advantage. His eyes, glowing faintly red with developing power, still weren't quick enough to fully match the opponent's speed. This was the scene Naruko found when she arrived. Using the element of surprise, she moved quickly through a set of hand signs. Wind style, gale burst, she declared, sending a wave of wind toward Zabuza and appearing in its wake, standing protectively between him and her friends. Sorry to keep you waiting, Zabuza-san. I hope you found the match stimulating. She offered her companions a quick glance. Great work, everyone. Go assist Sasuke before things escalate. They nodded and moved quickly. Naruko then turned to Zabuza with a calm smile. So, have you considered my offer? I have connections with the Hokage. A place in the village could be arranged for you. Zabuza chuckled. Well, I'm interested. But before anything, let's test how strong you really are. Naruko nodded, raising her crimson scarf over her face and shifting into a refined battle stance. Very well. Let's both give it our all. With that, the two engaged in a friendly yet intense sparring match. Naruko used her wind chakra to enhance her agility, moving swiftly and striking with precision. Zabuza, strong and experienced, matched her blow for blow. But as the battle continued, Naruko adapted her movements. She used trickery and acrobatics to create openings, surprising Zabuza with her creative style. At one point, she threw several small spinning blades that seemed to miss, but circled back around and landed harmless blows that disrupted his balance. With a graceful leap, she landed lightly in front of him, her blade pressed gently against his shoulder in a clear demonstration of skill. Zabuza chuckled. Well, I'm impressed. You've got potential, kid. We'll join you, on one condition. I follow you, not the village. Naruko nodded with a kind smile, offering him a hand. He accepted, and the spar came to a respectful end. Just then, the sound of clapping echoed from the bridge entrance. Well, isn't this touching? Came a pompous voice. Gato appeared, flanked by a group of hired fighters. Looks like you've forgotten your contract, Zabuza. I can't let that slide. Get them. But before his group could act, Asuma and Kakashi stepped forward, easily disarming the thugs. Gato, attempting to flee, was quickly captured and handed over to the villagers, now led by Inari and his mother, Tsunami, who had formed a brave makeshift militia. With the threat neutralized, Asuma turned to Naruko. Well done. Your leadership on this mission was outstanding. You've earned some serious recognition. Naruko smiled, but Sasuke was clearly annoyed. Why does she get all the credit? Team 7 could have handled this alone. And how can we trust people like Zabuza and Haku? Kakashi addressed the issue calmly. The Hokage himself approved this mission team. Asuma was in charge, and he trusted Naruko. You need to trust in your team's decisions. Sasuke muttered something under his breath, but let the matter drop. Eventually, the bridge was completed, and the group prepared to return home. Inari tugged at Naruko's sleeve. Naruko-san, do you think I could become a ninja like you? Naruko crouched to meet his eyes. I'd love to teach you, Inari. You're a bit older than most academy students, but still too young for apprenticeship. Train hard here for the next few years. When the time's right, come find me, and I promise I'll help you become one of the best. With that promise, the group began their journey back. As they walked, someone from the village called out, Tazuna. Have you thought of a name for the bridge? The old builder scratched his chin. Yeah. The Great Naruko Bridge. That girl helped save our home. It's the least we can do. Cheers echoed behind them as they left. The return journey was peaceful. Naruko laughed and chatted with her friends while Sasuke brooded in silence. Sakura, feeling left out, glanced toward Ino, wondering how their friendship had changed so much. Somewhere during the walk, Zabuza pulled Naruko aside. So, how well are you liked back home? Naruko gave a soft smile. Not very, honestly. People often mistake me for someone else they dislike. Zabuza frowned but nodded. Well, I respect that. And just so you know, I still don't like politics. They arrived in Konoha and gave their report to the Hokage. Naruko left out details about her unique abilities but included everything important. The Hokage reviewed it and handed over 2 leaf headbands. You are now official Konoha ninja, allies through Naruko's leadership. You're not bound by village service, but trusted partners. A few days later, they were summoned to the council. The civilian side had received a complaint, Sasuke requesting Naruko's sword and allies. Naruko stood calmly before them and addressed the issue. With respect, I must decline. My sword chooses its wielder. As for my teammates, they chose to follow me, not the village. When a councilman became frustrated and accused Naruko of arrogance, she replied, "You can't take something that doesn't belong to you. These people are not tools to be reassigned." Hiashi brought the vote. The ninja side unanimously supported Naruko. The civilian side was outvoted, and the requests were denied. After the meeting, Hiashi turned to the civilians. "Let this be a reminder. That girl has earned her place. Don't waste our time with petty grievances." Naruko exited with Zabuza and Haku at her side, smiling as they began to share stories of their past. The journey forward wouldn't be easy, but together, they were ready for whatever came next. Life carried on quietly for the next few months. Ever since our team had successfully completed an A-ranked mission without anyone getting seriously hurt, we'd been assigned a steady stream of C-ranked missions, with an occasional B rank sprinkled in. Haku and Zabuza adapted to life in the village much more smoothly than anyone had predicted. Haku joined the Anbu division, wearing yet another mask to fit his new role. Surprisingly, Zabuza took up assisting at the academy when he wasn't away on missions. When asked why, he would only say that he wanted to ensure the children never had to experience the hardships he did. Though initially wary, the children grew fond of him over time, despite his strict and disciplined teaching style. It wasn't uncommon to find Haku, Zabuza, and others relaxing at my cabin in the woods. Kiba and Choji had even managed to get Shino to open up, and eventually, he became a regular part of our circle. As Kiba put it, once you got used to the insects and his quiet demeanor, he was actually a really good person. But like all breaks, it had to come to an end. Around this time, Asuma ended our training session early and gathered us at his favorite barbecue spot, a tradition he followed whenever he had something important to discuss. "Well team," Asuma began, smiling as he looked around the table, "you've all come a long way. I honestly feel lucky to have had such a solid group. Normally, I'd wait for the next cycle, but I've already submitted your names for the upcoming Chunin exams, which start next week. It's still your choice, though. If you're in, sign these forms and be at the academy at noon in 3 days. Don't be late. Until the exams are done, training and missions are on hold. Take the time to rest, review your strategies, and show me your best work. I'll be watching." Asuma grinned as he handed out the forms, clearly confident that none of us would back down from the challenge. The following day, Naruko was enjoying a well-deserved break, spending time with the Hokage's grandson, Konohamaru. The young boy had taken quite a liking to her. While they were playing, Naruko felt an odd sensation, a sort of warning. Before she could dismiss it, Konohamaru accidentally ran into someone dressed entirely in black, his face marked with purple paint. The only identifying detail Naruko noticed was the symbol of Sunagakure on the ninja's forehead protector. The stranger lifted Konohamaru into the air by the back of his shirt and muttered, "Watch where you're going, kid. Someone should teach you some manners." He pulled his hand back, but Naruko quickly stepped in and caught his wrist before he could do anything further. "That's no way to represent your village," Naruko said firmly. "Why not let the boy go? He was just having fun like any child." Before things could escalate, another voice cut in, this one from a blonde girl with a giant fan slung across her back. "Kankuro, that's enough. We just got here. We don't need any trouble, especially not in front of Gaara." The mention of the third name drew Naruko's attention. She glanced up and spotted a red-haired boy around her age watching silently from a nearby tree. There was something distant and mysterious in his gaze that struck a chord within her. As Kankuro pulled his hand back, Naruko once again felt that odd sensation. When her eyes met Gaara's, a quiet voice spoke inside her mind. "Naruko, be cautious around this one. That energy feels like Shukaku, the one tail. That spirit can push people beyond their limits. His life might have mirrored yours in many ways." Naruko studied Gaara, his large gourd, his tired eyes. She understood more than most. "You must be Gaara," she said calmly. Kankuro and the blonde girl, now identified as Tamari, looked surprised, whether at Naruko's recognition or her willingness to address him so directly wasn't clear. "Since you seem to be the leader, I'd ask that you make sure your team behaves while you're in Konoha. It would be a shame to be removed from the exams for causing trouble." Gaara offered a curious smirk. "You're not afraid of me? You speak to me like I'm just another person. That's rare. Either you're unaware of what I am, or you're something like me. Interesting. What's your name?" He had moved in close, still examining her carefully. Naruko. Naruko Uzumaki. Though, if you ask around the village, some people may call me names that don't really reflect who I am. But no, I'm not afraid of you. I understand more than you think. What if I told you there was a way to bring balance, to calm the inner storm? Gaara's expression shifted slightly. I'd say that's impossible. That storm can't be calmed. I avoid sleep just to stay in control. But maybe you're worth remembering. Kankuro, Tamari, let's go. Naruko watched them leave, thoughtful. She had sensed another presence and didn't need to look to know who it was. Sasuke, do you have to follow me like this? Sasuke dropped from a tree nearby, his Sharingan active. If I can't have what's mine, I'll learn from what you've got and surpass it. I'm going to get stronger, stronger than you. Naruko chuckled lightly as she helped Konohamaru up. You're welcome to try, Sasuke. But power isn't just about knowing techniques. Let's see if you can keep up during the exams. If you make it to me, I'll give you that match you've been looking for. This time, I won't hold back. Before the conversation could continue, Konohamaru tugged on her sleeve. Big sis, can we stop talking to that grumpy guy now? I want to play some more. Naruko gave him a light tap on the forehead. You really shouldn't repeat everything you hear us say, Ko. Be kind with your words, okay? Besides, isn't it almost lunchtime with your grandpa? With wide eyes, Konohamaru sprinted off. Naruko jogged after him easily, while Sasuke remained, watching with a focused expression. This time, Sasuke murmured, I'll find out everything. Then I'll finally rise above her. Just wait. Naturally, my team and I arrived a bit early. We had a feeling that even reaching the location of the exams would be its own challenge, and we weren't wrong. As we reached the second floor, it became clear that our instincts were spot on. A group of hopeful Genin had gathered in front of two older teens who looked to be in their early 20s. It was an obvious trick, meant to filter out those not ready for what was to come. The real exam was on the third floor, but a basic genjutsu had been used to make the plaque read differently. Many were caught by the illusion, a result of nerves and inexperience. Naruko immediately recognized the pair as Izumo and Kotetsu, the gate guards from the village, now disguised to appear younger. They subtly gestured for her group to continue upstairs. As we made our way up, murmurs from below were followed by a familiar voice that made Naruko smile under her scarf. Yosh! Please stop the fighting. This behavior is far from admirable, Uchiha-san. There's no need for conflict just to show your strength. We shook our heads, amused but not surprised. That's Lee for you, Ino said as we entered the exam room. Honestly, when does he not do that? Hinata added with a small smile. We composed ourselves with neutral expressions, Naruko even pulling up her scarf to hide her face, something she always did when she wanted to seem serious. Quietly, we found seats close to one another. The room gradually filled as teams poured in. Team 7 and Team Guy arrived at nearly the same time, followed closely by Team 9. Naruko kept a sharp eye as a calm young man with white hair pulled into a ponytail, glasses, and a small scar across his nose made his way toward the three groups. He had a composed air about him, and was greeted with cautious attention. You all might want to keep it down, he said calmly. Some of the Genin from the Sound Village are looking a little tense. Kiba raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. And who are you, exactly? The teen raised his hands peacefully. No offense meant. Just offering some advice. I'm Kabuto. I've taken this exam several times before, and I've gathered quite a bit of data on everyone here. Sasuke's interest was piqued. 2 names. Naruko Uzumaki and Gaara of the Sand. Kabuto smiled, pulled out a deck of blank cards, and shuffled through them. He placed 2 on the floor, then focused his chakra. The cards instantly filled with information. Let's start with Naruko, Kabuto said. She's part of Team 8, with Asuma Sarutobi as her Jounin sensei. So far, she's completed 36 D rank missions, 10 C ranks, 5 B ranks, and even 2 A ranks, one before she was even assigned to her team. She's well-rounded, showing strength in taijutsu, kenjutsu, stealth, and intelligence gathering. Not much is known about her ninjutsu or genjutsu use, though. She's developed her own unique taijutsu style and adapted it into a sword form. Other than that, she seems pretty reserved, and her close friends won't reveal anything. Kiba looked at the blonde, giving a proud nod. That's right. We don't talk. Naruko, concealed behind her scarf, frowned slightly. Most of that wasn't top secret, but it was unsettling how much Kabuto had uncovered. Kabuto continued. Now, Gaara of the Sand. A bit of a mystery. I don't have much data, no mission reports or known abilities. All I can say is, reports suggest he's never been touched during a mission. An unknown variable, for sure. Suddenly, one of the sound Jinan, heavily wrapped and wearing a thick gauntlet, lashed out at Kabuto. Though Kabuto dodged, his glasses cracked, and his balance faltered. Naruko, observing closely, realized the gauntlet amplified even the smallest sounds and redirected them to disorient opponents. She noted it carefully, definitely something to remember. Before the tension could rise further, a tall, scarred man wearing a black bandana intervened. "That's enough. Take your seats or leave. I'm your proctor, Iviki Morino, and it's time to begin." Everyone quickly sat. Iviki continued. "You've already handed in your slips and arrived in teams. That was your first challenge, seeing how you handle pressure and cooperate. Now it gets more serious. When I'm done, half of you will be out." He gestured, and several experienced Chunin seated themselves along the walls. "You each have a test with 9 questions. Answer to the best of your knowledge. The 10th question will come later. But there's a catch, 3 strikes for cheating, and you're out along with your entire team." The room quieted as papers were flipped. Naruko smiled to herself under the scarf. 3 strikes? He's basically telling us to cheat. This is a test of how well we gather intel. But what's the deal with the 10th question? She didn't have to think long. Hinata had already begun using their group's silent sign language to relay answers. No one who didn't know their signals would have noticed a thing. As the hour passed, more and more Jinan were eliminated for being caught. By the time Iviki clapped his hands to signal the end of the hour, just over half the room remained. "Now, the 10th question," Iviki announced. "You may choose to take it. But be warned, if you do and fail, you and your team remain Jinan. Forever. No second chances." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Iviki smiled inwardly. "Here it comes. 5, 4, 3, 2. A Jinan stood. I can't risk it. I'm sorry." His team left quietly. More followed. Iviki's smirk grew. That's when Naruko stood, face calm. "Enough. Why not just tell us what this is really about? Or would you prefer I explain?" Iviki blinked, then smiled. "Go ahead. It's a mental challenge. The first test was about gathering information, your planet answers made that clear. And the 3-strike rule told us cheating was part of the test. This final question? It's about decision-making under pressure. Real missions often give no clear answers. Saying no here means you aren't ready to deal with uncertainty. So yes, I'll take the 10th question." Iviki clapped slowly. "Well done. You're right. The question was whether you had the resolve to face the unknown. All of you who remained pass. Congratulations." Suddenly, the window shattered. A bundle flew in, open mid-air, and 4 kunai pinned it to the wall. It read, "Anko Mitarashi, energetic, proud, and ready." Standing beneath the sign was a vibrant woman with purple hair tied in a bun, wearing a trench coat and a bold smile. "All right, everyone. I'm your second test proctor, Anko Mitarashi. Hope you're ready for some excitement." Iviki sighed. "You're early, Anko. I wasn't done." Turning back to the group, he said, "Be at Training Ground 44 tomorrow at 1000 sharp." Dismissed. After the room cleared, Anko twirled a kunai idly. Iviki looked over. "There's someone I want you to watch during the next test. That blonde girl in the scarf." Anko raised an eyebrow. "You want me to go easy on her?" "No. Just keep an eye on her. She's sharp. Saw right through everything I threw at her. I think she's going to surprise us." Anko grinned. "Now that's the kind of challenge I like." Later at Ichiraku's. Naruko sneezed a few times in a row while enjoying her noodles. "You good, Naruko?" Kiba asked, chuckling. "Someone thinking about you?" Naruko shrugged. "Hope it's nothing serious. Just a weird feeling, that's all." After finishing her bowl, she stood. "I've got work at the forge. Your mom invited Hinata and me for dinner, right? Let her know I might be a little late." She left for Shinrei's forge, where she retrieved a rare, blue metal. Time to finish this project, she told herself, setting the metal beside Zabuza's blade to begin reforging. As the metal glowed in the furnace, she summoned clones to assist and prepared her tools. "This is going to be interesting," she said with a grin. The next morning, Naruko found herself stretched on the couch at Ino's home. Reina had insisted she stay after a friendly evening with Inoiki. It turned out to be convenient, as Hinata and Ino were there too. As Reina bustled into the room, cheerful as always, she smiled seeing Naruko already awake. Breakfast time. Big day for all of you. Naruko stood. I'll go wake the girls. Ah, wait. They're not exactly dressed, Reina started, but Naruko was already heading upstairs. She opened Ino's door and stepped in. A quiet murmur came from the bed. Naruko-chan. Don't go. Naruko blinked. Did Hinata just say that? She froze as she realized both girls were curled up together, wearing light sleepwear. Blushing, she gently tried waking them up. Unfortunately, they only half woke, looked up, smiled sleepily, and pulled her into the bed, hugging her from both sides. Now she was stuck. When Reina peeked in and saw the scene, she smirked, deciding not to intervene. Soon, the alarm clock blared. Ino blinked awake, realized what had happened, and blushed furiously. Hinata let out a squeaky gasp and quickly sat up. Ino, flustered, asked, Naruko. What are you doing in my bed? You didn't peek, did you? Naruko scrambled upright. I just came to wake you up. You both pulled me down, I swear. Hinata smirked playfully. So, you didn't want to see us? Are we not pretty? Naruko panicked. I didn't come here to peek, and no. You two are. The most beautiful kunoichi in the village. The girls giggled and, to her surprise, each gave Naruko a kiss on the cheek. It was Ino who spoke up for both of them this time. Don't worry, Naruko-chan, we know you'd never act inappropriately on purpose. We were just having a bit of fun teasing you. Thanks for the compliment, though. Now, could you please give us some privacy so we can change? The blonde teen gave a cheerful nod, hopped off the bed, and quickly exited the room, much to the girls' amusement. Ah, it's tough to catch her off guard, Ino said with a light laugh. You've got to take the chance when it comes. Still, she made a comfy pillow. I wouldn't have minded a bit more rest like that. Hinata nodded in agreement as the two got ready for the day. At breakfast, they found Naruko giving Reina a look of quiet suspicion while Reina hummed a carefree tune as she finished cooking. Good, you're both awake now, Reina said brightly. Come on, sit down and eat, there's a busy few days ahead of you. Although Naruko seemed a bit reserved at first, breakfast soon returned to a normal pace. Reina continued smiling cheerfully, undeterred by Naruko's glances. The rest of the table simply watched in quiet curiosity. Before long, the four ninja prepared to leave, leaving Reina behind to manage the flower shop as usual. Naruko's team made their way through Konoha, eventually arriving at Training Ground 44, situated on the edge of the village. The area was surrounded by a tall chain-link fence enclosing a dense, ancient forest. Naruko briefly recalled some unsettling memories but quickly brushed them aside and focused ahead. Near one of the gates, they spotted Anko lounging atop a small wooden shack, enjoying a large serving of dengo with no concern for the world. She didn't take much notice, until she spotted the girl Eviki had described. Naruko suddenly felt the wind shift as a kunai zipped past her, landing behind with a soft thud. Moments later, Anko draped herself lightly over Naruko's shoulders with a mischievous grin. You've got an interesting presence, Anko said, playfully leaning close. Let's see how well you handle pressure. Despite Anko's teasing nature, Naruko remained calm and composed. She simply tilted her head with a small smile behind her scarf. Is this how a proctor should treat someone about to take your test? People might get the wrong idea, you know. Anko chuckled to herself, a bit annoyed by Naruko's composure, especially as she noticed the firm glares from Hinata and Ino. Deciding not to push further, she stood upright and returned to her post, brushing herself off with casual grace. Don't worry about the written exam. The one in the forest will be much more exciting, she said with a sly grin and a wink before hopping back onto her perch. Naruko exhaled softly, and Yuko, the team's medic, was already tending to the light scratch on her cheek. Why do the unusual ones always seem to find me? Naruko murmured. Anko clapped her hands to gather attention. All right, listen up. Eviki was gentle with you, what's coming is much more intense. She held up 2 scrolls. One was black with a white border marked earth, the other white with a black border marked heaven. Each team will receive 1 scroll. Your mission is to find a team with the opposite scroll, retrieve it, and reach the tower in the center of the forest within 5 days. You'll know when it's safe to open your scrolls, do not open them before then, or there will be consequences. She slapped the fence behind her with a confident grin. The forest is wild. Animals, terrain, and unexpected surprises await you. Stay sharp. Scrolls were distributed, and Anko carefully observed. One team from the land of grass caught her attention. Something about them felt off, but she had a test to run. Naruko was chosen to carry their scroll, sealing it inside one of the smaller storage scrolls she kept. They would rotate who held it every hour. "Let's set a record," Naruko said, pulling her mask down with a grin. "We find a non-Konoha team, get their scroll, and move forward. If we get separated, use our code phrases. No one outside our team knows them." At the signal, they launched into the forest from the treetops, Hinata activating her Byakugan to scan the area ahead. 40 minutes later, a team from Amigakure raced through the trees, clearly fleeing from something. The lead boy glanced back, confirming both teammates were still with him. One suddenly collapsed, only to find a girl with soft lavender eyes pinning him down. "Who are you?" one of the boys shouted. Before he could charge, he was stopped by Ino, wielding a long practice spear with expert precision. "I'd watch what you say about Hinata-chan," Ino warned. "Naruko doesn't take kindly to rude behavior. Ask her yourself." The leader soon found a curved blade resting near his shoulder. "Since when am I our Naruko, Ino?" Naruko teased gently from behind, smiling. "A girl can dream, right?" Ino replied cheekily. "Who wouldn't want someone to look out for us?" Naruko's tone turned serious. "You put up a good effort, but we'll be taking your scroll. Please don't follow us, you still have time to continue this test another way." She reached into the leader's pouch and retrieved a heaven scroll. "Hinata, your eyes really are amazing," Naruko said, and Hinata blushed shyly at the compliment. "Great job, Ino. Leading them through that trap field was smart. Now, let's get to the tower." Thanks to Hinata's tracking skills, they navigated quickly and arrived at the tower just an hour and a half after the test began. The gate guard blinked in surprise, clearly not expecting anyone this soon. They entered a small room with a scroll on the wall indicating it was safe to open their own. Inside both scrolls was a summoning technique. Once activated, smoke filled the room, and when it cleared, Asuma stood there proudly. "Didn't think you'd be here this fast," he said, grinning. "We've been holding back too much," Ino explained, strapping her spear to her back. "We figured it was time to show what we could really do." Asuma nodded. "I asked to greet you myself. There's food and places to rest, go relax while the others catch up." Only minutes later, the Suna team arrived. Naruko and Gaara crossed paths in the hall but showed no visible emotion. "I see you've been in action, Gaara. I hope no one I knew got hurt," Naruko said calmly. "Not unless they were from Amigakure," Gaara responded. "I didn't expect anyone else to arrive so soon." "You're interesting, Naruko-san. What you said before, about controlling the inner beast, I've been thinking about it." "Shukaku hasn't spoken to you yet?" Naruko asked. "He's probably focused on causing confusion. But you're not alone. Including us, there are 9. I've made peace with mine. If you ever want help, I'll be here." She raised 9 fingers and then moved to leave. "Just remember, if anyone threatens the ones I care about, I won't stand by quietly." She walked off toward the balcony for some air. Gaara stood there, stunned. A Jinchuriki from Konoha, living her own life? Outside, Naruko spotted Kiba, Choji, and Shino approaching. Good, they made it, she thought. Now it's Shikamaru's team left. Sasuke should have enough motivation now. A kunai struck the balcony rail beside her. Recognizing the throw, Naruko turned to find Anko standing nearby with a playful grin. "How does a fresh Janan and her team walk out of the forest of death without a scratch?" Anko asked. "I've got a special challenge for you." Naruko tilted her head, curious. "Run," Anko said with a gleam in her eyes. Naruko smirked, pulling her scarf up again. "All right, then. Let's make this interesting." With that, she leapt gracefully into the forest, sending shadow clones in every direction, already 2 steps ahead. Anko was having fun. It had been quite a while since she'd encountered someone who could match her in playful strategy the way Naruko did. Ever since the young kunoichi had entered the forest, Anko hadn't been able to track down the real one, only coming across her clones. Naruko had even laid traps for her, some of which Anko narrowly avoided with quick reflexes. At the edge of one such trap field, she finally spotted Naruko, calm and poised, blade in hand. "There you are. Done with the hide and seek already?" Anko said, her tone light and teasing. She couldn't see the expression behind Naruko's scarf, but something about her felt different. It was a familiar energy, but altered in a way that sent a chill down her spine. A strange, unsettling laugh escaped the figure before her. Kukaku. So eager, Anko-chan. Still playing those little games, I see. In a puff of smoke, the image of Naruko transformed, long, dark hair cascading over pale features, with golden eyes that stared back with a piercing familiarity. Her former mentor had returned, Orochimaru was in the village once more. What are you doing back here? What do you want now? Anko asked, bracing herself as she reached for a concealed kunai, her expression tight with focus. Want? Orochimaru chuckled, tilting his head with amusement. Just a little fun, perhaps. Show me a good match, and maybe I'll share a secret or two. With graceful ease, he dropped into a familiar stance, waiting for her response. Dash. Elsewhere in the forest, Naruko was puzzled. For a while, she'd been able to sense Anko tailing her, but now it seemed the older ninja had vanished completely. Was the game turned around? Was she the one being tracked now? The whispers didn't help. They'd been faint at first, easy to ignore, but now they grew louder as she journeyed deeper. With growing curiosity, Naruko pressed on, marveling at the immense creatures surrounding her. Towering tigers, snakes as wide as tree trunks, and insects larger than her fist filled the thriving forest around her. A soft smile tugged at her lips. This place felt like a refuge, a hidden haven for nature to thrive and grow undisturbed. She eventually found herself in a sunlit clearing where the whispers reached their peak. At the center stood a figure that looked like a blend of woman and tree. Her voice, warm and nurturing, floated gently through the air. There you are. I've been calling you all day. Come, sit with me. Naruko nodded and sat beside her. Dryad, she began softly, you're the one I've worried about most. From what I've read, only the Senju clan ever gained your trust. Why is that? Dryad's emerald eyes glowed gently. Why do you think that is, Naruko? Naruko looked down at her bandaged hand, lost in thought. Because the Senju believed in peace. They avoided conflict where possible, and valued life above all else. They dedicated themselves to nurturing and healing, not harming. Dryad nodded. That's close. But you must understand, many can wield the gifts I offer. There was once a healer I trusted in this very village, long ago. The question now is, why do you think I might refuse you? Because my goals might not be as pure as I wish they were, Naruko admitted. I want to stop the fighting, but I can't see a peaceful solution. I'm afraid I might have to face it directly. And if I become part of that cycle, I feared you wouldn't approve. Dryad smiled gently. Look at what you just did, she said, nodding to the thistle in Naruko's hand. Oh, this? I pulled it so it wouldn't spread and hurt the others. Exactly, Dryad said. Everything has life. But sometimes, when something causes harm to the world around it, it must be gently removed so others may flourish. If peace is possible, wonderful. If not, we protect life as best we can. You understand that? So yes, I will lend you my strength. She reached out, her touch setting a radiant green gem into Naruko's gauntlet. One more thing, someone harmful to the balance is in this forest. The person you were with earlier may have already encountered him. Please hurry. She may need your help. Naruko's eyes sharpened with focus. Anko's in trouble? I'll find her. She summoned 20 shadow clones with a seal. Fan out and search for Anko. If anything seems off, return. Move. In a blur, the clones vanished through the trees. Naruko herself stood in meditation, drawing energy into her blade until it shone turquoise. The sensation of a clone dispelling gave her direction, and in a burst of wind, she disappeared. Dash. Meanwhile, Anko was still on alert. Orochimaru had escaped once again after tricking her with a simple mud clone. Now he was hidden, waiting for another opportunity. Without warning, a group of summoned snakes emerged from the underbrush, wrapping around her and pinning her to a nearby tree. Orochimaru stepped out from the shadows with a quiet chuckle. Still not fast enough, Anko-chan. This is why I moved on. But I suppose I can share a hint. That young Uchiha, he is something new to think about now. Just a little something I left behind. Oh, and do let your Hokage know not to cancel the exams. That would be most disappointing. And with that, Orochimaru vanished into the trees once more. In the next moment, Naruko appeared in a whirl of wind, her expression serious but calm. Anko, still bound, raised an eyebrow. Your timing could use some work, kid. He's already gone. Could you please get me out of this? Naruko nodded, and with a swift motion, she sliced through the ropes and caught Anko as she stumbled. Anko, was that who I think it was? What would Orochimaru be doing back in Konoha? Anko sighed, brushing herself off. I wish I knew. All I got out of him was something about the Uchiha. I think he gave the boy some kind of mark. Ugh. She winced, clutching her shoulder. Naruko noticed and gently moved Anko's hand aside, revealing a black mark. Is this a seal? She asked, carefully tracing the shape. The pain subsided almost instantly under her touch. As her fingers hovered over the mark, Naruko felt a strange energy, dark, ancient, and familiar. Something she only knew from dreams. This energy. It feels like the remnants of something forgotten. This could be dangerous. Anko blinked. You recognize it? Naruko nodded, eyes narrowing. Yeah. And I think we're just getting started. Dear YouTube family. That's a wrap for now, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected and support the channel. Until next time, stay awesome and keep exploring the 6 paths. With appreciation. 6 Path Weeb.